Didn't see him very often, like 2 times, and he invited each time that I didn't attend an event. I had mysterious things going on in my life. I didn't realize that his minions were the police department. So I had a lot of peculiar things going on that now I realize that he was most likely behind. Because when I ended the online relationship, I had a lot of people in the community slander me and schemes to keep me away from my child, and they all have disappeared. And courts lying and slandering and not following the family code, and then intimidation and bullying when I went to go try to figure out what was going on, and were being removed by security, exposing felonies that courts and multiple other parties have been enlisted in. So they left me trapped in that, and being pushed and shoved, trying to get protection orders against this man, blatant lies, and in fact, all protection orders have disappeared that I've applied for, and then so there was no paper trail on me trying to apply for one, and I've been pushed and shoved and bullied and removed trying to get protection orders, and the police has came and denied me the justice of the peace, and all kind of other avenues for protection orders have been denied. And I've been railroaded to not get any help trying to flee abuse, even at domestic violence organizations. All of them.
Okay. And then when you say, so do you remember what year you met him online?
To my knowledge, I don't really know. My life has been really peculiar, and I've heard that some people, they stalk from the background and just, have obsessions. So, but my life has been pretty peculiar. I realized that I knew this party in around 2016. And then we had communication in 2017, and he called me, and then it was like interaction on fake pages. I didn't understand why he wanted to communicate so oddly, and on fake pages he let me know that he was able to hear me through my device, however which way he knew what was going on in the background. And he would tell me about conversations on fake pages, and also tell me what was going on in my living environment. So it was obvious that someone had put cameras in my environment, and I reported it to the police for them to investigate, and they refused the investigation and then later set me up. Because it was...
So we'll go into details with specifics here in a second. I just wanted to see about how long you have known this individual.
Okay.
Have you...
No.
Okay.
I've never lived with him.
And you said you have one child, or how many children?
He has threatened me with a lethal weapon, but he has other people do the dirty work. He doesn't get his hands dirty. So he has, I believe, because would get threatened repeatedly. And I've been living a long time, and a person don't get threatened 3 or 4 times a day unless someone's setting it up. And one of these parties I've come to find out that they're called gang stalkers. So
when you say that he threatened you with a weapon, did he tell you that over the phone, or did he...
emails. I've been threatened. I've been threatened by people that say that he had, in this new environment and in Austin, I've been threatened by people that say that they know him. And then one other party, that like I said, came to realize was a gang stalker, that threw me down on the ground and put a gun up to my head and pulled the trigger. Thank God there was no bullets, and the police department covered for it. Everything that I'm reporting, the police department covers for it. And they enlist other parties in my environment to do the same thing.
And are you reporting that to Austin Police Department, or what department are you reporting that to?
I've reported the crimes to multiple different police departments, but in Austin, I reported the death threats and the people that saying that they have a weapon and they were going to use the weapon on me. I tried to report it to Austin Police, but they repeatedly covered for it and then arrested me to cover for it. And then I was bullied and violated in jail. I also reported the child abuse that I told you about, and they ignored that.
Okay, and do you happen to have any report numbers from any of those?
If I don't have them, but I can retrieve them. If you're able, are you able to look up public record or the record with the police department?
So I don't have access to that. It's either we have you give us the police report numbers that you have, or I can see if our investigators have any reports that involve you to see if we can pull those up, so I can have our investigators see if they can find anything on our end.
Right.
But I don't have access to that.
Okay, because I've read online how there are advocates that call and find out and work with the police departments, but I've never met one. And then the one where I'm staying now was doing it, but when she uncovered corruption with the police department, it abruptly ended. This has been a pattern if they're not removing me or if the police department's not coming. So I'm not quite certain of why there's a disconnect on why all my advocates can't work with the police department to get records that they've made rob me of the ability to get.
Yeah.
So I'm just not.
I don't know how other departments work or how other victim advocates are working out, but I can see if our investigators are able to find anything. I just personally don't have access to that, but I know our investigators
Oh,
do.
okay, good.
So
Because other parties have pretended like they could not work with the police department and advocate for me. So I would think that, if a person is an advocate, that they would be able to do what I've read online and work with the police department to get documentation and records. So, yeah, I'm glad that we can possibly get that done.
Yeah. Okay.
Definitely. The problem of it is that I've done like 200 and something reports, and none of them are being investigated. And I've done reports in Austin and been arrested, and even in my new environment, the police department is blacklisting me from all law enforcement. So I'm trapped and getting death threats and getting threatened and false arrest and abuse in jail, and there's been no law enforcement to combat it.
Okay. Has he ever forced you to have sex when he did not wish to do so?
I don't want to comment on that because it's not realistic.
Okay. Does he ever try to choke, strangle you, or cut off your breathing?
No. I was told at one point that he was battling an addiction, but I don't know because the relationship was mainly online.
Okay.
Yes. How he does that is he has enlisted people in my environments to threaten me. For example, like put me off buses, out malls, in different places, like in hotel stays. He's scamming to get me out the safety of hotel rooms on blatant lies. There will be knocks at the door from nowhere, and the police department has came even as late as 1 a.m. demanding that I leave. And they used to come with no rhyme or reason. But since I started recording them, now they have their alibi is that a YouTuber is calling these locations and telling them to put me out. And then in addition to that, they're scheming to put me off buses. Police have came on buses with no rhyme or reason, demanding that I get off the bus. I've been threatened on buses, trapped in on them, and taken to the garage, keeping me from transit. And I have police reports, but I've been denied law enforcement, so I started recording it. And I have multiple different recordings on being trapped on trains and buses. And that's pretty terrifying. They've also locked me in when it came to my stop. And then when it was my stop, I get up and then try to get off, and I was locked in and couldn't get off. And that meant that I'd have to do a whole other round, go a whole, it really took a lot of time. And that's happened repeatedly over and over.
Okay. Does he threaten to harm any of your children?
I have had some subliminal threats, and my child's name's coming up like in toxic emails that threaten my life. It had my child's name on it as clickbait to get me to go in it, and things like that.
Okay.
And then when I click in it, then it will have like a death threat saying that I'll be assassinated.
Okay.
So for that reason, my family is scared to be around me. I'm sorry? I couldn't quite hear you.
How often are you? It's okay. How often are you receiving that?
Right now, it's minimized since I had the false arrest to cover for it, but I was receiving it quite often. Like I get spam with them. They do it in person. They do it in text. I get called and get threatened. So, and I reported it all to the police. Like I have a recording of someone that actually I wouldn't answer the calls on my phone, so they called on the hotel's phone. They called the hotel, so that meant that these parties were stalking me and knew where I was, and then was threatening me, and that was terrifying. I reported it to the police. They covered for it and told the hotel to ban me from the hotel in corruption.
Okay. And then the last question I have here for you is, have you ever threatened or tried to commit suicide?
No, I haven't threatened him. Yeah, no.
Okay.
So what is happening, as I expressed that I believe people are paid to threaten me, okay? Random people, which I've come to find out are gang stalkers. So they'll follow me and then watch what I do and then start threatening me, and then they're pretending like they're mentally ill to not get accountability. So September 15th, this random man was watching me and then threatened me.
And so I'm going to stop you right there. With the random individuals, are you saying that the respondent is the one responsible for this, or are you saying that he's that person?
I believe that these people are called gang stalkers. Okay, what they do is it's a torture campaign. So on September 15th, this man threatened me. Okay, and then on September 11th, another party threatened me. And inside the shelters, people would trap me in the shelter on the elevator and do strange things in the shelter. One got in the shower with me and was staring at me and made me get out the shower. All these peculiar events I reported to shelter staff. This has followed me years. And shelter staff would not answer grievances to cover for me being repeatedly mistreated and bullied in environments. So the other lady also came at me and threatened physical injury, and multiple staff had to hold her back and did nothing to protect me. Multiple shelters have done this. Some shelters, like Austin Street in Dallas, even let people assault me and would not give me protection, which is against their policy. Other parties had
Okay.
thefts and they would roll back the camera footage, but my phone, and I had repeated thefts, and they just left me in it and would not review the camera footage. In some of those instances, it seemed like staff was behind my thefts, and I reported it to the police, and they bullied me and slandered me and covered for it. They even withheld mail, multiple different locations withheld mail, which is a felony.
Okay, so with this specific person that we're talking about, has there been anything physical between the two of you as far as like physical violence goes?
Well, like I said, he works through other parties. So I've had assaults with the police department in Garland. But as far as um, Travis County in Austin, but in Garland, I had an assault. And from the police department for attending a domestic violence support group, I was calling, reporting my abuser all day long at Red Roof Inn. The police came to Red Roof Inn trying to set me up and frame me with mental illness. When they realized I was recording, they enlisted Red Roof Inn to slander me. Then he threw me down on the ground, twisted my arm. I thought he was going to kill me and break my arm. I started screaming. Then he stopped. They took me to jail. Each time I'm arrested on false charges, they deprive me of my constitutional right to go to court. I get threatened in jail and bullied in jail as well. And then jail staff trap me in getting threatened and punish me for reporting that inmates are threatening me. In Dallas, I was actually assaulted by an inmate that would watch me, follow me around, and interrupt me telling inmates what I was going through. The staff tried to bully me and mistreat me. Oh, after that assault, multiple different inmates said, "No, you got the wrong one. She was the one that was assaulted." So the guards were forced to do the right thing, but they controlled my report and never investigated it. Because then I would put in the report that this person was stalking me and following me around, interrupting me talking to people. They wouldn't let me put that in the report.
Okay. And then between you and
That was at Frank Crowley
between you
in Dallas.
between you and
Well,
Jason,
Blue
between you
City.
and Jason Gardner, had anything physical? Had he ever physically assaulted you? Specifically him, not anybody else?
No, what he does and what I've read online, a lot of people has used that, not saying that you are. All attempts to get all of them, all help has been interrupted. And I did hear you say that if the attorneys take it, they have never taken it, period. So what he does and what I've read online is that if the person is not only working themselves, but they can also work through others, and he's working through others and enlisting all my environments to cover for his crimes because he's wealthy and running the police department and government officials. So all avenues, all of them that I take to flee him, they're enforcing it never happens. They're monitoring me illegally on my device, and every opportunity I have to flee, it's interrupted. And I have evidence of that in a new environment. There's multiple different witnesses that said that it appears that her phone calls are being monitored. I have two witnesses right now. So the police department, I reported it to the police department with witnesses that said that I've noticed that when we say certain things, that it's like someone's listening, and my phone would glitch after certain things were said. And then someone offered me a drink. I said I don't drink, and then 10 minutes later, I got a email stating if I drank anything, had a drink, it would be my last one. I reported this to the police in my new location, and they covered for it with the witness.
Okay. Okay. Let me see. let me just double check that I have everything that I need, and then I'm gonna ask our investigators to pull anything that they can from Travis County and see how we can go forward with that. Give me 1 second while I just double check everything, okay?
Okay.
From our investigators to see if they can pull anything, and then I'll enter this information over to the attorney. We did get your emails the other day in regards to the other, like the videos, things like that. So I've already uploaded those into your file, and the attorney's going to review all of the necessary information that we have, and then I'll be in touch with you as soon as I have an answer on whether or not we can accept the case. And then we can go from there, okay?
Okay, like I said, all of the prior attempts have been denied. So I have a question. So if someone is hiring the police department to repeatedly take someone's freedom, what recourse do I have over that? What can I do?
So I can definitely ask one of our safe advocates, like what the options are for that, because if that is something that you're looking and wanting to seek and look further into, I can definitely have somebody, or we can refer you or give you resources for that. Let me just get in with
I have some questions though. What is your position?
You do?
Because I've been dealing with you for a while and I have questions and we haven't worked on a strategy or in none of my environments to protect me against that man. So if the abuser is going to abuse and power to enforce all opportunities to flee him, that I never see the help, what kind of accountability would that be? Because what's happening is that every like a chess game, every move that I make, he's making sure that I can't, fulfill anything, or he's prepared for every move and sabotaging every move I make. So each location is depriving information, and I can't build a safety plan or a strategy to fight him. Every location.
So my position here is a victim counselor, and what I do is I just get the basics of what's going on, and then the attorney is the one that determines on whether or not we can accept the case.
But I'm just curious because other people don't experience that. There's a Me Too movement. Other people, they get like name changes. They get other kind of things. They get advocacy. They get support. And I've been robbed of it. And I'm curious to know why all environments have sabotaged or denied assistance, even legal representation. So I have attorneys that all the attorneys that I've ever tried to get are sabotaging legal representation. I have one doing it right now. They're trying to convince me that crimes the government has committed to keep me away from my daughter is irreversible. And they did not follow the family code and racked up altered court documents in several different felonies, but someone paid, and I'm just not quite certain on what I can do if someone is bribing all avenues for me to flee them, to make sure it never happens, using the police department and government officials. So each advocate I get will not give me direction, therefore actually covering for someone that is sending me death threats. So I think that you do have the information. I did send you the video to where I was arrested trying to report the death threat, and you saw the death threat. So there's evidence that he's using the police department. And there are different kind of strategies to get protection from police that are crooked. And all environments cover for the police corruption. All of them. So I'm not quite certain on why all other parties, and then online it states that advocates can give you information, safety plans, and help build up strategies and give you information on your rights. I've never seen it in almost 10 years. In fact, police department has came pushing and shoving, interrupting, making sure it never happens. And now I suspect they're working in the background. But can you imagine, for 10 years, I have a multi-million-dollar lawsuit. All legal representation never calls me back, or either they sabotage legal advice or deny me representation. So for all, like I said, all this corruption, I'm trapped in it because I can't get legal representation that is authentic. They're all covering for the government's crimes.
Okay, so I can try to provide you resources once I talk to the attorney and our legal.
But I've communicated with you, and I'm not quite certain on why you don't have any information on my rights if you're an advocate, or as well as any other advocate. Why we haven't got a strategy or given me any information out of all this back and forward. Why all of that? I've been deprived of that for so many years. And just trapped in it, and I assume that it'll probably be denied, like all attorneys deny me any kind of help to flee the government's abuse. All of them. So I'm pretty sure that you guys won't help either. In some kind of way, none of the protection orders I tried to get are ever documented. There's a clear paper trail of me never reporting if the police department didn't come in and removing me. There's no evidence that I've ever tried to apply for a protection order.
Oh, so I work specifically with the protective order division, so I wouldn't be able to, I can't give you any answers on why other individuals have not been able to help you out. I just can tell you what we're able to do, and I can see what our attorney's able to do. I can't tell you definite whether or not we would accept it or not.
No, I mean, that's a red flag of things that I've gotten. I have an email from an attorney that sabotage assistance right now, and it keeps happening, and they said that their referral they can't guarantee will help me. So there's no definitives. That's a red flag that someone is controlling my experience.
So what I can do is, once I review this with the attorney, I can be in touch with you to let you know what the next steps are going to be.
But as for giving me, as an advocate, for you giving me a safety plan and direction and information on my rights, like it says that you do online, are you unwilling to do that?
So, ma'am, I explained that I was going to assist you with that. I just can't do that at right this point. I needed to make sure that we get with our safe advocate to talk to you, and we can kind of come up with a plan. Just what your concerns are, I want to make sure that I'm giving you the correct resources for that. So that's the reasoning on why. I want to make sure that I'm not just giving you just a number, and then you get put in a place where you're like, well, now they're not wanting to help me. I want to specifically give you resources for the specifics that you're looking for, and that's why I want to get with my team in order for us to get that together and provide you with that plan.
Okay, but as far as you giving me information on what you do as an advocate, that's you're unwilling to do that?
So I explained that what I do, I'm a victim counselor, and I help with victims with individuals that want to seek protective orders. And that's what the process was here. And that's what I explained a little bit earlier, just the process on how we work and what I need to do on my end. So with the screening being over at this point, I need to make sure that I give this information over to the attorney and provide our investigators with information so that they can pull your police reports and have the attorney review all of that in order for us to be able to determine whether or not we would be able to.
Okay, what's your website? What's your website address? And I can look on there and see what services that you offer on your website. What's your website? Because I just want to get clarity, because all locations that I've been to refer me to other places. So can I have your website?
Sure. It's going to be, if you look up for the Travis County Attorney's Office, Protective Orders.
One moment. I know there's attorneys coming up. Travis County Protection Order did not give me all the information I need. That's what I was explaining to you. Okay, TravisCountyTX.gov.
/protective orders. You should be able to get to our main page.
Okay, it says that you provide protection and prohibit an abuser from communicating with you in threatening, harassing manner. What is a protection order? So that's what that does. So where do I go where it states what you do as an advocate?
So, ma'am, I'm explaining to you what I do.
I'd like to see it online, because, like I said, there's been a lot of corruption. Like some attorneys, some advocates were supposed to help you with crime victims compensation, advocate for that person, and do multiple different other things that I've never seen. So just to be able to fight integrity issues, I like to look online and see how you actually help that party, because all locations say that the only thing that they can do is forward you over to other resources, and I never see them. That's been happening for almost a decade. So to interrupt that pattern, I think there's a disconnect. I think there's a disconnect. I just wanted to see online. I think there's a disconnect. I don't know why all environments don't want me to know what the job descriptions consist of. So all I ask, can you just send it to me in an email because what it sounds like is that if you don't do the protection order, there's nothing else any kind of service that I get.
I'm not the one that determines whether the protective order is being accepted or not. The attorney is going to have to do that, and I can't do that for next step.
I just was wondering if there's an online where it states what a victim's advocate does.
So there's different victim advocates. That's where I think you're a little bit confused. That I'm a victim counselor. I don't do specific things. I work specifically in the protective order division, and that's all I do. I have no idea what the process is for other victim advocates out there in the state of Texas and the county. There's lots of different victim advocates that do different things. Not every victim advocate does the same thing. I specifically work under the protective order division, and that's where I gave you that website, and that's the information that you can get from there. Now I'm going to disconnect the call so I can go ahead and move
Well,
forward.
ma'am, if I have questions, I don't understand why all my environments, including the police department, disconnects the call when I'm trying to get feedback. If I can, I understand that you need to submit the information, but each location has to disconnect the call and ending it, forcing me to be in conflict. If I have questions, why is all my environments making sure that they never get answered? So what I'm trying to, I'm currently asking a question right now, and that's a red flag. Each environment, and they know that I'm an extreme amount of corruption and abuse. Why all of them have to enforce that I stay in it? So that's a red flag that maybe potentially that there's integrity issues. I just want to be treated fairly, and if I have questions why all parties have to end conversations or ignore me for trying to get clarity and getting information on my rights, trapping me in abuse for all this time. So all I wanted to know, if you know that the police department has been conspired with abuse and cover-up and criminal activity, what kind of avenues for a victim's advocate that actually helps me and advocates for me, because I haven't seen it, as I expressed, for almost 10 years. But each environment has to go, leaving me trapped in insanity, and I thought conspiracy to violate rights was a felony. So if the pattern repeats itself like I believe that it will, this attorney will not accept the case. That's been a pattern. So I'm being prepared that if the attorney don't accept the case, that how do I get the advocacy that it says that advocates get the services that advocates give online, because I haven't never seen it. What is that person that's going to call the police department and make sure and investigate and see if they're following up on police reports? Because if they haven't investigated 200 and some plus reports showing that I've been trapped on buses, threatened too many times, pickpocketed too many times, attacked too many times, assault with a deadly weapon, and the police department conspired and covered with it, all this crazy insanity showing proof that I've been gang stalked. How do we interrupt this pattern if all advocates leave me in it and deprive me of information and assistance that it says that they offer online? So where's the advocate that will call the police department and dig into if they're investigating the reports and uncover why they're not investigating so many reports? Where's that mysterious advocate that I've never seen?
And that's the information that I have to get with my team with in order to give you that information. I don't have that information for you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and disconnect the call, and then I'll be in touch with you as soon as I have an update for you. Okay, so so you're disconnecting the call and don't have the resources. How long have we been communicating back and forth? Ma'am, I've only communicated to you with about I wasn't able to discuss with you anything further without knowing if there was jurisdiction, because we wouldn't be able to have taken the case if there was not. So like I said before, I'm going to disconnect the call.
I feel very uncomfortable with people disconnecting the call repeatedly over and over when I'm trying to get services. I feel that I'm being robbed of rights and value, because people have to disconnect the call year after year, leaving me in insanity. Why would you have to disconnect the call and repeatedly, location after location, has to end conversations or repeatedly ignore me? That's psychologically abusive. If you know the police department has been enlisted in abuse and I've been attacked and guns pulled on me and I have questions, why do all parties have to disconnect the call when I'm speaking? That's psychologically abusive, and it reduces my value. So when can I find someone that can make time for government officials being bought off, child abuse, courts being bought off and controlled? When can I find someone that don't have to disconnect the call and end the conversation to leave me in it year after year? And then deflect and blame me because I'm getting there's some kind of phantom services that I've never seen. She hung up. The best predictor of future behavior is past behavior. There's been nothing to interrupt the past misconduct, corruption, and criminal activity and racked up felonies to kingdom come. Why would it end? Yes, there's been a discrepancy with my case. And each time I get that, I'm told to get an attorney. And when I get an attorney, they can't ever find the records and then stop representing me and bully me and mistreat me. And when I've came in person, security has came and I've been mistreated as well, trying to expose multiple different felonies to keep me away from my child. So there's a discrepancy on one. I'm told that I was told the case was dismissed. Okay. Then I reported over and over to the police that the case was. May I have your name?
Before you continue, can I get the case number?
Okay, can I have your name?
Yeah, man.
Okay, so before I give you my case number, I just wanted to make sure that I have feedback. Okay, so I was told that the case was dismissed. Then I reported to the police that the case was dismissed and I didn't get access to my child. Then a judge that I never met terminated my rights, Mary Murphy, but no one can see it that I hired for legal representation, and then later they cover for it and further deny me legal representation. All legal representation. They say that it's irreversible, even though it's felonies racked up to keep me away from my child, including one that I have right now that forwarded me over to another resource to deny me assistance. All legal representation have been denied. So if I can give you my name, I don't have the case number. So here's the thing, what I'm questioning is I don't know how to combat that all legal representation never saw that my rights were terminated. And the family code wasn't followed because it was terminated. The case was dismissed. And then after multiple different reports and being detained and mistreated and bullied by the police department, taking me to Dallas Behavioral, reporting crimes to keep me away from my child. After that happened repeatedly over and over in the intimidation, then all of a sudden my rights were terminated from nowhere. I think this is mysterious because I keep getting cases from nowhere, emailed and text out to me. So I'm just kind of curious on why all legal representation did not see the termination of my rights from this judge that I've never met. But yet and still the court and the police department is keeping me away from my daughter. In some kind of way, people haven't got felonies for not following the family code. So what do I do? Because the only the police department and these mysterious documents that no one else can see are some kind of way, or the phantom documents, I thought that was fraud and felonies. But yet nothing's been done. So were my rights terminated? What happened? Because no one can see it. The court told me that they didn't want to give me any information. There's nothing on my file. They won't tell me why they terminated my rights. The parents I have recorded said that they did not report to the court that I was being abusive. I have that recorded. I told the family court is supposed to be psychic and knew that I was abusive, and there's no reporters, period. But yes, and people still have not got their felonies. So if there's no record of my rights being terminated, can the family court tell me if they were terminated or not? Because it's appearing that they're dismissed.
I see there was a default order that was signed back on May 21st May 21st in 1997.
It's for Michaela Cage.
Default order or any type of order.
So you don't see the other child, period? It disappeared?
Who is the other child?
I just gave you her name. But she wasn't born in that time frame, so that can't be her. So the records disappeared?
Please hold 1 second. Let me transfer to myself.
No, this is how the evidence is tampered with repeatedly over and over. Voicemail.
How can I help you?
Yes. May I have your last name?
My name's Alejandro. My last name Rodella. That's Rodela.
Yes, I gave the party. Did he give you my case number?
Let me make sure this is correct. It is DF.
Right, and apparently they put 2 children on one case, and I was asking questions about Michaela Cage. What happened was they supposedly terminated my rights. A judge that I never met didn't follow the family code. I was told that a case was dismissed that was made out of false allegations. The parents said, the stepmom and the dad said they didn't do it. They did not, and I have a recorded conversation where they said that the court did it on their own. CPS workers and multiple different parties made false statements, incriminated themselves. Now they have disappeared from the court's documentation, which I thought was criminal. Nonetheless, the court is somehow now with what they have supposed to be psychic, and I was abusive and with no reporter. I try to figure it out, but security has came and interrupt me reporting it and demanded that I leave, and I've been intimidated and bullied. So here's the thing: all the legal representation has not. They don't see the termination from this judge that I've never met. They only see where it was dismissed. But I reported to the police the case was dismissed, and I didn't have access to my child. Then they detained me in corruption and took me to Dallas Behavioral, and would not investigate any of the reports. Then after that, my rights were terminated by this judge that I've never met, which is against family code. So, but here's the thing: no attorney that I've tried to get to represent me has seen the termination. Do you show a termination for my parental rights?
Now, without looking at the order, I don't.
I just don't know how I would be able to get it because the court claims that they don't have documentation of it, and then it didn't happen. If no attorney that the court keeps saying get legal representation, when I do, the legal representation does not see it, then the court don't see it, but yet and still I'm being kept away from my child. So if the court won't tell me what they see and no other person can see it, how am I going, how in the world are they terminated and the court can't see it?
Now, the order that was signed, there's a post-judgment motion in here, filed on April the 8th, 2021. Did you review that particular document already?
There's a simple question that I haven't been able to get an answer to. Are my parental rights terminated? The legal representation that the court repeatedly told me to hire does not see that. When I come in person, security has me leave. I get bullied, intimidation, and mistreated. It's a simple question. Is my parental rights terminated for that child?
So
I've tried.
I would suggest that you can do is reach out to the records department.
Why don't you have it on file? Why doesn't anyone have it on file? I've reached out to the records department. Why can't I get a clarification? Every parent has the right to know. I thought conspiracy to violate or violating parental rights was a felony, no matter who did it. So what you're suggesting isn't working. Why would the court? If you could let me speak, why would the court withhold? I just would like to be able to speak. All my calls are like this.
Ma'am, this is Miss Clark, correct?
If you let me speak, all my calls are like this. If you just give me an opportunity, I've really reported some.
Record me.
I'm sorry?
That's okay. You can definitely record me. But
I don't know who you are. What do you mean if I can definitely record you?
I gave you my name, and I let you speak for an entire 5 minutes.
All my calls are like this, sir. All of them. And it's very mysterious.
Right. Well, I am trying to assist you.
But all I want to know is why the court would withhold something as serious as if my parental rights are terminated. Why would they keep that from me for all these years? That is serious. And as I've addressed to you, that charge, it's a felony to violate someone's parental rights in a conspiracy. That's a felony charge. So if the court is trying to hide and withhold if my rights were really terminated, your recommendation isn't working. Why don't you have any documentation or anyone else on if my parental rights are really terminated? Why is it hidden?
Ma'am, with all due respect, you didn't even hear my suggestion.
I just don't understand why no one can tell me if my parental rights are terminated. That's a red flag. So you're looking at the case and you don't see if my parental rights were terminated, and attorneys can't find it either?
There's multiple documents in this docket in your case, and what we don't do is go to each individual document and open it.
That's a clear-cut answer, and before people got bought off and paid, they didn't mind giving me information on my case. I'm not quite certain on why it's being withheld and why security would come, intimidate, and bully someone and force them to leave, trying to figure out if their rights were terminated, and trying to get accountability for people taking bribes to keep me away from my children. So I just don't understand why that has been impossible for anyone to find out if my rights are actually terminated. And if they are terminated and the case was dismissed like people can see, But some kind of way there's some kind of phantom termination by a judge that I've never met. That's criminal and it's against the family code. I imagine that's why no one wants to let me know if my rights were actually terminated. Your way isn't working. That's not a legal question.
It is a legal question, and
okay, so if it's not in the documentation, and I've tried to report this to multiple different police departments, if it's hidden.
I never said that there was no documentation. I said I was not going to open each document that's in your case.
Well, can you find someone will? Because it's a clear-cut question. Is my rights terminated for that child? Because it's been impossible for me to find out, get clarity on my own. And we're going on over 8 years that I've been stripped away from my child that's abusive to her and for me. And it just switches up, which is felonies. First, it was dismissed when the other judges didn't want their felonies. Other parties that they left get off the docket. So now that it's a horrible miss and possible felonies for a lot of people, now the court is psychic and terminated my rights with no reports of abuse by a judge that I've never met. So now our records are missing, which are other felonies. And some kind of way they want to keep me away from my child with no reasoning to do so, which are more felonies. So I'm not in a different location. How can I find out that that's not convenient for me to come in there and get records that don't exist? The court has told me with security and multiple different other parties and intimidation and bullying to get an attorney, and no attorney has seen that the rights were terminated. And then after that, denied all legal representation, future legal representation to figure it out. Your way isn't working. So some kind of way these documents don't exist, but my rights are terminated. So I'd like to get verbal validation or something in writing, because I'm not in that location, to get clarity on if my rights are really terminated. How were they dismissed? The case dismissed to give me all my parental rights back. Multiple different parties lied about that happening when the other judges didn't want their charges. Now, all of a sudden, some other judge that I've never met terminated my rights from nowhere, with no CPS investigation, with no reporter of abuse. So since you've heard my story, is there any kind of remedy on what we can do to get me these records? Because the court has repeatedly told me to get my own attorney to find out if my rights were terminated. I did, and they don't see it.
So what you want to request from the records department is a docket sheet. The docket sheet is going to contain all the documents that are filed into your case.
I've already done that, sir, and there's no reporter of any abuse in it. And they told me to get an attorney to find it, and it's not there. They said some kind of mysterious abuse that's not in the documentation. I've tried to report that people are committing crimes, and I've been ignored for all this time. Like I said, these are priceless years that I can never get back. And my daughter has reported abuse in that environment, and the police department and CPS cover for it.
Did you contact the Office of State Commission on Judicial Conduct already?
I did contact them and was ignored.
What number did you dial so I can make sure that you dialed the correct number?
I sent an email, but let me get this number, and I can call them again.
Give me their email, because I have their email and I have their phone number.
Let me get both. But here's the thing, I need to contact them to figure out why the courts don't have any evidence of any kind of abuse and keeping me away from my child all this time.
You can report that to this office.
Because it doesn't say anything in there, and my legal representations deny me legal representation and cover for crime, so all of it. It's really mysterious. Kind of deflecting. I would like documentation. I would like clarity on if my rights were really terminated and what this abuse is that's not in my file.
With legal matters and legal questions.
Here's the thing. It's not there. It's not there is the problem.
If it's not there, then you have a good case to make with the Office of State Commission on Judicial Conduct.
Okay. What's the email?
Information,
Okay.
INFOR.
One moment. Information. I-N,
information.
I as in ice cream, N like Nancy,
Correct. Yes.
O-R,
F-O-R.
S-O-R, not O-R.
F as in Frank. O as in Oscar. R as in Robert. M as in Michael. A as in Alpha.
Okay, so I have information, and then you're giving me information again?
At.
Information at. Is it information?
S as in Sam.
Information at, is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay, information at.
S as in Sam. C as in Charlie. J as in Jason. C as in Charlie. Dot. Texas, spelled out. Dot gov. G-O-V.
Okay, so that's information at scjc.texas.gov.
Yes.
Okay.
And then their phone number is 512 463 5533.
Okay, so what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to build up a case against government officials that chose to take bribes and break the law. Accountability for armies full of people that chose to do that. So where the documentation. So
Can I give you another phone number?
okay.
It's 1-877 228 5750.
Okay. Okay, so now back to the documentation. What are avenues? Because, like I said, that's not in the file. All I simply want to know is if my rights were terminated. At first, when I called in, they told me it was dismissed. Then they mistreated me, hung up, and bullied me when I tried to know if they were actually terminated. So can you get someone? I don't know why they were able to tell me information on my case. Now the now the story is that you can't get information on your case just for me. So is there anyone that can verbally tell me just a simple question on if my rights were terminated? Anyone, period.
Not here with our Dallas County District Clerk's office.
Period. Anyone, period, can verbally just give me clarification that I haven't been able to find, or are my parental rights authentically terminated from a judge that I've never met?
I can probably see if one of our management team can assist you. I'm gonna get your name here. Let me get your name and then phone number, and they can reach out to you.
Okay. Or they can email me. They can email me the yes or no, or just, if my rights were terminated. It's simple. It's not rocket science for so many people to not have the answer on something as serious as if parental rights are terminated. That's serious. And doing so without any valid any reasoning, I thought was criminal. And there's no reasoning in all the documentation. But like I said, I couldn't get down to the bottom of it for being escorted out and bullied.
I'm writing down the question here. So
okay. Just simple. Are my parental rights really terminated? From a judge that I've never met, with no CPS investigation, while I was in jail on false charges. Trying to report corruption and criminal activity to keep me away from my kids at the Texas Rangers. Deprived of my constitutional right to go to court. I was making my free phone calls. I told them I was calling the court. They disconnected the phone while I was using it and told me to go to my cell and would not give me access to the phone again.
Okay, I'm ready for your phone number, Mel.
I asked if they can email me the answer.
Emails? Okay, what's the email address?
So I tried to report to the Texas Rangers while I was arrested and try to get the update on what happened with my report of public corruption and government officials taking bribes.
let me get that email again. It's love.
So, like I was saying, I was at the Texas Rangers in Garland reporting the corruption to keep me away from 2 children. And some kind of way, I was arrested for criminal trespass for reporting crimes, and because I was trying to report that the crimes with the court and blatant lies, and how multiple different parties made false statements that have now disappeared off court documentation. They can't find them. So, like you said, I think I do have a valid case, especially since the court has no reasoning for taking my child custody rights away, since they have no reporters, and the dad is recorded saying he don't know why it happened. But yet and still, people haven't got their felonies after all this time.
Yes. So hopefully, I'm gonna email this to our management team, and hopefully they can.
Okay, what's the party's name that you're emailing it to?
This is gonna be Denitra
Brown. Yeah, I reported to her child abuse to the court and the corruption, and it was just ignored. And then she tried to bully me and intimidate me, Denitra Brown. I keep getting network back to people that are crooked to not get anything resolved. Candace Tyler repeatedly hung up in my face when I was desperate on my daughter's birthday, trying to report criminal activity, and bullied and mistreated me, and security repeatedly came to remove me for demanding that the court protect my child. Some kind of way, CPS and the police department has left my child in abuse, and myself in this corruption as well. So that Denitra Brown really hasn't been working. She told me to get documentation. I think that people just really need their felonies for this to end. Like I've already stated, the best predictor of future behavior is past behavior. If there's been no accountability for countless felonies, why stop? The duffel bags will keep getting passed, money repeatedly exchanged until people get their charges from outrageous felonies and crimes they chose to repeatedly commit. Okay, well, you just got to document and see how many racked up felony crimes equal an arrest. Okay, well, you can have Denitra Brown, but like I said, she's been very uncooperative about protecting my child. She ignored child abuse. My daughter said she was hit April of 2022. I reported that to the court, please protect my child. They ignored it, and CPS and the police department. And then hung up in my face, ignored me on phone calls, which I have uploaded to this YouTube channel that I have, exposing massive amount of corruption with government officials.
Yes, again, I'll
Denitra Brown, I keep getting railroaded back to her. I have to repeatedly talk to crooked people. There's no other parties that I can talk to get something done. So the only thing that you can do, there's no party at the Frank Crowley, the George Allen building that protects and makes sure that no one's falsifying information. No one there, period. That will go into documentation and crook. I'm just trying to make sure I have clarity. I'd like to finish speaking. This is a repeated pattern. So I just want to make sure I have understanding. At the George Allen building, there's no one there at that whole building that goes into documentation to make sure that their employees don't have integrity issues. No one there, period.
No, I just mentioned that earlier in our conversation. And I was going to escalate this to our manager.
Denitra Brown?
Yes.
Okay, Denitra Brown has covered for it, as I already expressed to you.
Right, and from my previous experiences, everything gets transferred to her, and I have not heard a complaint towards her.
I'm not really, all my conversations, everywhere I'm at, is repeatedly like this, trapping me in corruption and criminal activity. So if I repeatedly network to problems, as I have been for 8 years, her hanging up in my face, calling security, and removing me for trying to report child abuse and corruption with the court, I'm not getting anything resolved. So is the court railroading me into trapping me into crimes that they were bought off to commit?
No, I don't think so.
Well, if I'm telling you if there's missing documentation, and no one wants to tell me if my parental rights are terminated from them being dismissed, how do they dismiss one month and then terminate it the next month without me even being involved? No one reporting it to me, not meeting the judge, no CPS investigation. I think that's a red flag, including why multiple different security removed me trying to expose felonies. How in the world with the family code would you terminate someone's right, a judge that they for a party that they've never met? How did they get dismissed 1 month and terminated? That's a red flag that people are racking up felonies. I didn't see any other parent being removed for trying to protect their child. So I think that's a red flag that something was amiss. If you are refusing to tell me if my child custody rights were terminated, that's a red flag that you guys are racking up charges for yourself that you need to get. Okay, sir. I don't know how many, videos and why you said I can record you and I don't know you. You are definitely being recorded, but I'm just waiting for the opportunity for something to be done.
As well.
I'm sorry?
And I gave you my name and I gave you the number to the Office of State Commission.
But I thought that if you're a court official or you're a government, you work with the court and you heard corruption, that it was mandatory reporting to keep your job. That if you knew about some corruption and something that showed integrity issues, is repeatedly not happening. Why? If you hear, you said you don't want to look into the documentation. If someone terminated my rights, what I'm exposing to you, I thought that there was a responsibility in mandatory reporting that no party that I've came in contact is willing to do. Isn't there mandatory reporting when you see corruption is exposed? This is a pattern for me. I already experienced this with the last call. Are you there?
Yes, ma'am. I'm listening every time I attempt to speak.
This is a red flag. Each party bullies me and gaslights me when I'm exposing felonies. I don't know why I have to experience so much psychological abuse. The question was, is there mandatory reporting that you tried to deflect and blame me for? Is there mandatory reporting that no party has been willing to do to not, I thought not reporting these crimes was charges? That was my question.
Yes, ma'am, and I've given you the email and the phone.
I just not really, I did ask a question, and year after year I have to endure psychological abuse, intimidation to enforce crimes on me. I miss all of my children, and I miss my daughter, and I'm very disappointed that I can't sue people that chose to take bribes and keep me from my rights, my family, and everything that is important to me, and repeatedly just swipes the rug up under me each time I get established and try to rebuild my life with absolutely no accountability. So my question was to you, you refer me to Denitra Brown, but my question is, if you are aware and multiple different other parties are aware of criminal activity with that court, I thought it was mandatory reporting of those crimes to not get charges. Is that correct?
I can't speak of legal matters, ma'am.
I thought that with your position that they had to inform you if you saw corruption with your job responsibilities, that would be one of the most...
I haven't experienced any corruption.
I just asked this a simple question. I get this all the time in almost all situations. I'm not quite certain why people want to deflect and go to all kind of different avenues and trap me in an insane amount of corruption and criminal activity. It's simple. If someone uncovers all kinds of felonies and corruption, is there mandatory reporting to keep your job?
Man, there is a due process, and there has to be witnesses to this corruption, which I'm not able to speak of because, again, I've never experienced that, and I cannot just speak.
Well, if you are refusing to look at the file, and like all of the police departments are refusing to do law enforcement, if you're refusing to look at the file, that's probably why you can't see it. Everyone's refusing to look at records to expose corruption. If you won't go in them and making it possible for you to uncover the corruption, you won't see it. That's like police that won't investigate 200 and something reports. They can't see the corruption because they're refusing law enforcement. That's why you can't see it. You won't go into the reports and information. It will be impossible.
You have to ask for that docket sheet from the record.
I'm just not quite certain. Denitra Brown knows about it, and I keep getting networked to problems. It just would be impossible for you to know about corruption if you won't look at it. Just like the police. Okay, sir. This is heartbreaking that someone could repeatedly pay off all your environments to conceal crimes and take your kids away for in corruption out of being, um, what do you call it? One I can't think of the name. Just someone that is upset that I don't want to be with them or have any interaction because they were abusive and mistreated me, jaded. So just because someone is jaded, they can pay off everyone in your environments year after year with no accountability, including family courts. It's someone that's not mentally stable because they're sending me death threats that the courts, domestic violence organizations, and some family members cover for. It's something. Okay, so Denitra Brown, that has already committed crimes, is the only one I can talk to?
That's correct. And she may have another person that you may be able to speak with. But I will have that question answered in regards to your parental rights. Are they terminated? And she should provide a simple yes or no
Yeah, and I need to report that to the that email that you gave me that they did not follow the family code and terminated my rights with no CPS investigation and with no reporters of abuse.
Right.
Okay, and no one will look to see if my allegations are factual. I reported it to the police, and all of them, like I said, Dallas detained me to cover for it. And then I've been intimidated and bullied, and the rest of the police departments won't refuse to investigate it. And I was even arrested at CPS to conceal the crimes. They kept coming. The police department kept coming to the Dallas locations. I think that that's a red flag that there's people should have had their felonies a long time ago. People are really minimizing an insane level of corruption because of who's committing the crimes. Okay, sir. I'll wait to see what happened. And I have another question. So, why would it be hid online if my rights are terminated? Shouldn't that be online?
Family matters are more secure than civil matters, and there are different avenues that you have to take to obtain those documents.
The family matters are all online except the termination that was done in corruption. This is just a repeated
Those
pattern.
are
I'm just trying to expose a repeated pattern. All these criminal cases
documents
that
are
when
not.
I've been set up, documentation is missing online too. This is a pattern for me. So you're saying that all the other family documentation is there, but when they terminate rights and corruption, that's missing? I'm just trying to get clarity. Because everything else in the file, there's no reporters of any abuse, period. And like I said, they don't have any documentation on what the phantom abuse is. So all the other things that were done are there, but when parental rights are terminated and corruption, it's missing. Or all parental termination of rights online, but mine is missing. I just wanted to know why that particular thing is missing, and none of my legal representation can find it. You there? This is what Denitra Brown did. You there?
Yes. Well, I'm sorry, I didn't hear that last question.
Oh no, snap. So, online, in all my environments when crimes are committed, the documentation is missing. So when the family court terminates someone's rights, it's missing on all cases, or is it just for mine?
Again, I didn't see anything that was missing, but again, I did not look through the
Right, you
entire
wouldn't see it.
document.
That's a pattern. If you can't get charges if you won't look. So, but here's my question. Are you able to find out if other people, if their rights are terminated, if that happens online, and why would legal representation not see it? Why would they hide it? And in fact, all environments hide things online.
Miss Clark, I have your information
I
here,
would like
and I'm
that
gonna
answered.
pass
Who would
this
be able to answer that?
because
I have a right to know
I
why
can
I can't figure out if my rights were terminated and if it's
I can
supposed to
give
be
you the
online.
status on your case, but I can share with you that
I'm
your
sorry?
case is closed.
I'm sorry?
I can
I
share
can't hear
the
you.
status of your case, and your case is currently closed. Now, if you want to retrieve documents you can reach out to
I don't think that I'm really being heard, because I thought that all the documentation for the family court was online, and I don't want to understand why my attorneys can't find the termination of my child custody rights by a judge that I've never met, with no CPS investigation or no reporters of abuse. So is the court hiding the termination of my child custody rights, or all parents' termination of their child custody rights hid online? That was a simple question. Because if the court hid the termination and corruption, I'm trying to expose that. So I want to have clarity on if I'm being targeted and mistreated, therefore it's hid. Or all parents, when they look up their terminations online, is it not there? This would be psychologically abusive to experience this year after year when it comes to exposing corruption and felonies that people chose to rack up. Is the court deliberately hiding this termination of my child custody rights? Does it exist? From a judge that I've never met? You there?
I'm here, ma'am, but we continue to.
I think that's pertinent information on if the court is hiding online the termination of my parental rights, because it's fruit. I get that. I get slandered all the time and deflected when people are exposed committing crimes. I don't appreciate being gaslit if you know that there's a astronomical amount of corruption. There's a simple question that you refuse to answer, and then you deflect it and blame me like armies full of others. That's a red flag that someone that is controlling people that they shouldn't. All I wanted to know, you heard that I was being violated. You heard that. And what you choose to do with that information is blame me for talking over you. You didn't answer my question. So my question was, if I'm asking a question, then I would speak to ask the question. But this is a pattern that has followed me years. When I'm speaking, I'm being blamed for speaking in the middle of questions that I'm asking, even with certain family members. So, but here's the thing. I question again. When a parent's parental rights are terminated, I thought that was public information. Are you hiding all terminations of parental rights for all parents, or are you targeting me and only hiding the termination of my parental rights that was done in corruption?
That has not happened with any of our cases that I'm aware of now.
Okay, so most of the other cases, if the child custody rights are terminated, that's online? Is that correct?
If you have access to the documents online, you can obtain those documents.
Okay, so repeatedly over and over, year after year, court after court, location after location, my documentation is hid, even with these false charges for getting arrested, reporting death threats. Why did I repeatedly get the jackpot and my information is missing? The court with security and marshals have came and escorted me out for trying to figure it out. They told me to get legal representation, and the legal representation can't find it. That's all I wanted to know, why the court chose on these felonies that they've racked up to hide the termination of my rights, which is a red flag that it is misconduct. And a red flag of the misconduct is you choosing to not look in the files, to not incriminate yourself. All I want to do is for people to get the charges they chose to rack up. I miss and love my daughter dearly. That's why it was done. I haven't been able to go to proms. She already reported she was hit, and it's sadistic and sick for CPS and the police department to cover for that and deprive me of any answers on what happened to my child and the courts. Okay, sir. Well, I look forward to getting clarity on that. If my rights were terminated, I would like for the court to put those records online so they can have accountability for the crimes they chose to commit. I don't want them hiding this termination that was done in corruption. Put that online so my legal representation can see it. That way, if the United States stops buying off attorneys to conceal their crimes, I can sue. Okay, sir.
You have a nice day.
You too. Do you have a victim's advocate?
Yes, ma'am, we do. Let me put my phone so I can get that number.
Okay, I have to call another number?
Yes, ma'am, this is the
Hello? Is this Crystal?
No, this is police dispatch.
Oh, this is a pattern. I've asked to speak with the victim's advocate.
Okay, so you need to speak to admin then.
The victim's advocate is admin?
Well, she works in the main police department.
Okay, what's that number?
361.
I would like the number. Any particular reason why I'm being ignored asking for the number?
Okay, I'm not going to argue with you, Gianna. It's 361.
Yeah, it's a crazy how I'm a celebrity and people know who I am all over the place that I don't want to. I think that's a red flag.
I'm going to hang up on you, Gianna. I don't know who you are. You're not a celebrity. But
I didn't tell you my name. You do know who I am, and repeatedly hanging up because I thought was misconduct and abuse trying to report crimes. I thought that was a form of tampering with evidence, which is a felony.
You haven't mentioned anything about a crime.
I did, but the police department repeatedly hung up in my face to cover for it. That like they've done years railroading me and trapping me into criminal activity. That they repeatedly keep crimes they repeatedly keep committing. I thought it was criminal to railroad someone and keep them from law enforcement. We're deflecting on those charges.
Like I said, I'm not going to sit here and argue.
I'm reporting crimes, and then people always want to say what they're not going to do, even though it's their job task to do it, and it's criminal for them not.
Gianna, our business is done. I'm going to hang up.
Sure. What was your name? What was your name? You're still on the line? You don't want me to have your name? I wouldn't either. Typically, when people are committing crimes, they don't want to disclose their name. He hung up.
Speaking, may I help you?
Is Crystal in?
Maxie speaking?
Yes, this is Kiana Clark. I asked her to, because I told her it was a pattern of victims advocates not helping me and sabotaging assistance. Okay. So she said she was going to send me an email of her task and her job duties, and she didn't do it. In fact, no advocate has ever done it.
Okay.
Because they're not ever there. For some reason, advocates won't help me year after year. None of them. So I reported to the police. I thought these government officials were being influenced to leave me in abuse, but they won't investigate the report I made.
Well,
so,
you can request that to the city. A job.
I'm just not repeatedly over and over. I endure psychological abuse, and people aren't disturbed with people racking up felonies all over the place. So for some reason, okay. I don't know why victims advocates won't help me, and why they don't want me to know their job tasks, because I don't see their the services that they offer. I never get them. So
okay, I'm gonna put you on hold real quick. Okay.
Okay, thank you. I think it's Galactic Unicorn that I know the incredible reports that I made that you have uploaded when I was reporting to the police department that someone was telling me online what I was doing at home. For some reason, they wouldn't investigate it.
Hello?
Yes, I'm here.
Let me transfer you to her line. If for some reason she doesn't answer, but I think she's in her office.
So that's voyeurism crimes. I don't know why Itasca police would cover for it and not do an investigation of the hidden cameras or any of my other reports. That's an incredible story, but some kind of way they wouldn't investigate the crimes. And then when I showed evidence that someone was monitoring me at home, he left. And then later set me up.
Record your message at the tone. When you are finished, hang up or press pound for more options.
Hello, Crystal. As I expressed to you prior that there was a lot of difficulty, and I've had a lot of victims advocates that were rude and tried to conceal crimes. In fact, earlier, another location, she did not want me to know her job task. And I asked you for your job task to see what services you offer, and you never sent them to me. This is Kiana Clark. Can you please email me your job task? Because all locations I contact would give me resources and tell me to go somewhere else without getting services for that location that I'm seeking services with. So now to interrupt that pattern that I've had to endure almost a decade as I reported to you and you were rude to me, I want to interrupt that pattern because any woman fleeing abuse and are getting death threats and getting violated to the extreme that I've been getting violated deserves accountability for that person that's putting that party through that. Nonetheless, I think that people are being influenced to leave me in it. But you can contact me at this email and give me the job description, your job description, and what all you could help me with instead of referring me over to another location to get help. Yes, on February 17th, the police department, I was taken to Cross Creek Mental Hospital for trauma from abuse. And the hospital, that government enlisted abuse, And Cross Creek had I told Cross Creek that I had a false arrest for reporting death threats and told them to look at it on the internet. And they slandered me in the report, saying that I was schizophrenic and suffering from delusions, which I've had to have experience at all hospitals and in jail on false charges. So they told me that in the records that they saw at this location, they said in those records that they saw where I was trying to report death threats to the police, and I asked for the records, and they're missing. And I gave the representative Stacy, because the court required me to get mental health treatment and corruption. And I showed Stacy the death threats and the extended amount of corruption. And then after I did it, she said she didn't see them. And for some reason, there's these mysterious people that are overseeing staff. It was like intimidation, because there's always she said, these multiple different environments saying that other parties are shadowing them. But I think my abuser is influencing people, because my situation is not private. There's always someone overseeing these people committing crimes. They're always new and shadowing people that are committing crimes. So nonetheless, after I showed her this extended amount of corruption, she says that she don't know if they're delusions. And I'm showing her where I was arrested reporting death threats, and I'm showing her the death threats. So what I'm trying to do is establish a pattern of corruption, and why another representative told me she saw in the records at Cross Creek that they said that I was schizophrenic. That's why I wanted to see this other doctor. Because Cross Creek said that I was schizophrenic, and those records are now missing in the information that I got. That's all kind of...
Ma'am, I'm so sorry to cut you off.
Okay.
So is this something that you have a complaint, that's something that's in your record that should not be in your record? Or
I'm just trying to figure out where the disconnect is, because I told her I wanted those records, and I got 15 pages of medical records and nothing on the mental health. One page of, and then it changed.
From us?
Yes, I have it right now. Yes.
Okay.
But if I'm asking for mental health.
Let me figure out what's going on, because this is, okay. So let's start with your name and date of birth.
So I sent emails of the corruption to the provider. Her name is Stacy, showing how I had false arrest.
I'm gonna put you on hold. What was your last four of your social?
I am.
Okay. So it shows that we gave you records, Ms. Clark, just recently. And can you try to explain? Was it something in the record that you weren't?
Yes, I was telling you that, and you put me on hold.
Agreed.
I was telling you something, and you put me on hold. So I was trying to get clarity, and you put me on hold while I was speaking.
Yes, sir. I put you on hold. Yes, sir.
While I was speaking, that's what I was trying to express to you. This is a repeated pattern. Yes, so I got the records, and they're probably 20-something papers, and a lot of them are blank. This is the pattern for me. They just have my information. A lot of them are just fruitless papers. That it says that I have hallucinations.
And this is the Cross Creek records, though, that you have a complaint about. Because we have nothing to do with that. Go thin.
It says that who's Alba Lara?
Yes, that's not us. That is Cross Creek Hospital.
Okay, so here's the thing. So, it said I was told by a representative that it said that I got arrested for trying to report death threats, and I have the death threats. So, and it said that I said that there was police corruption and government corruption, okay, in the records that they said that they had for this location, okay?
Okay.
So I requested those records, and it's not in it. They're missing. So what I was trying to express with you, I met with Stacy for an extended amount of time. I showed her the arrest because the reason why I'm deliberately trying to expose corruption with mental health providers that are covering up for the crimes the government officials repeatedly commit. This happens in jail and in all my environments, which are federal conspiracy charges. So I'm trying to expose. There's also a lot of petty things that I experienced that I realized as part of a gaslighting campaign. But nonetheless, for some reason, armies full of people, including Stacy, I showed her all this information, and then she played games and said she didn't see them. So I gave her, to interrupt the pattern of the corruption, I sent her emails. She was furious when I said that I had her email address already. I'm just not quite certain on how to get accountability, because most of the time when I'm trying to get clarity on things, I'm interrupted speaking.
Miss Clark,
What's your name?
is this Stacy from?
Yes, for some reason my phone's breaking up. It does that. Yes. By the court, let me repeat myself. The court required me to not get charges for to protect their own well-being and not get charges for crimes they were committing. For me to go there and show evidence of mental health treatment, expose instead of dismissing charges that were clear-cut in corruption and bullying and violating me when I was in jail. I showed Stacy the corruption in emails that she tried to cover for. The reason why I'm escalating this is a repeated pattern that's also happened in jail with mental health providers blatantly lying on me and slandering me to conceal crimes government officials repeatedly commit. They use that as an alibi for crimes that they repeatedly choose to commit and trap me in jail because I believe someone's buying off government officials and they need a reasoning for trapping me in jail so he can get his money's worth on these false charges. So they have people slander me with mental illness. And I'm trying to establish a paper trail that mental health providers are abusing their power to help conceal government officials' criminal activity. I'm trying to end that.
Clark, and what's something?
I'm curious on why records are repeatedly disappearing. If the mental health provider at this location told me that she saw where me reporting death threats and false arrests were delusions, and I showed them to that mental health provider, that is not in my documentation that I showed her evidence of what I was stating. That's missing. Also, what's missing is that the mental health provider, Laura, at Cross Creek, stating that I was delusional reporting crimes that the government repeatedly keeps committing. That's missing. So I'm just across the board. Is it fraud to, alter documents and records repeatedly over and over? Is that criminal from the records department? Because it keeps happening to me all over the place. Is that a crime to go in and alter records repeatedly over and over? I'm sorry? I can't quite hear you. People deflect all the time. What was your name?
My name is Alita.
Okay, so we're deflecting on the fact if someone going in altering records, medical records, mental health records, and records all over the place, is that a crime? I don't know why people don't want me to know simple things. Are you there?
Okay. Yes, ma'am. I'm trying to gather all this information.
I just had a simple question and people deflect.
Her name is Angie.
I just wanted,